add him as he comes in if we want, but for now, let's get started.
All right.
What's up, guys?
Good afternoon. Yeah.
I'd like to. We have this stranger on this side. Hasn't been here in quite some time. Happy to have him back. We are not the Reboot. This group is called the Reboot, right, Brandon?
We are the Reboot.
Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be talking about a year ago. We did something about smartphone security. We're gonna kind of pivot a little bit and talk about understanding exactly what MDM is and ensuring that corporate devices are secure. With that said, I'm Brian Bracci. I'm with B&L PC Solutions, based out of Long Island, New York. I'm joined today to my right is
Adam Pittman. Adam Pittman from Perry or Raleigh RDU, Research Strong Park area of North Carolina.
Company?
You don't know where you're from either?
Don't know where I am from. All those places. All right.
And Brandon Bowers with Eisenramper Managed Technology Services out of South Florida.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, I think over the years, as security is, we've been tightening up security. The end user experience has only gotten better, being able to access corporate resources from their iPads, their iPhones, laptops, you name it. And the focus now for the purpose of this conversation is going to be on just ensuring that you have these devices secured, what that means and what the risks are if you maybe not following certain frameworks or policies that you should be or required to be following. And I know that, for example, years ago, we used to be able just to throw email right on our phones and get to work and not worry about anything. Phone's lost, all right, replace it and do that. We're not in those times anymore. So the tools that are available are amazing and are designed to protect corporate data, personal data, keep those two separated. And they do a lot more than that, but that's a great start and something we should talk about is what is MDM in a nutshell? I mean, does it apply to only phones?
Absolutely not. So MDM, mobile device management, right, is a way for a company to control what, to a certain extent at least, what their mobile device, and being usually a phone or a tablet, what the end user can install on that tablet, what he can see on that tablet, what he can do on that tablet, right? So it's a piece of security. And certainly, Brian, to your point, 100%, when we talk about being able to get on, Microsoft 365 and OneDrive and SharePoint and all the things that come with that, if somebody doesn't have the right security on their phone, it's not unfathomable at all for somebody to be able to access your phone without your knowledge, get into those documents, find out what they need to find out, plant what they need to plant on your phone. And then, of course, the company's in a great world of trouble.
Absolutely.
Just to add on for a second. So, like MDM is important, and MDM helps foster that, to me anyways, that bring your own device capability. Because without MDM, as soon as you allow that policy to allow people to bring a personal device in to access corporate resources, you immediately don't have any security management, right? You don't know if those machines are sanitized. You don't know if they meet certain either compliance or security configuration requirements, which MDM will provide that functionality. And I think even before you start with like formally deploying an MDM, you need to make sure that you've got policies in place and you educate your employees. One of the big gotchas or roadblocks that I've found anytime we really started talking about MDM is once it gets to the point where we're deploying and talking to employees, they don't want anything installed on their devices. And there's way to handle that, or there's ways to handle that, right? Because an employee owned device and an MDM can be treated differently than a corporate owned device. And making sure that the employees understand that and you spend that time with them. And that's why I refer to the policy, because if the business has a formal policy in place and they're educating their employees, It makes it much easier once you get to the point that you want to do the bring your own device or start deploying an MDM to your employee devices.
Yeah, and
You're
no
right.
doubt that the policy should be there. If there's not a policy there, then I think there's definitely some risk attached to that as well. And so the mobile device deployment, the methodology, and how it's, the deployment process has changed over the years. It's evolved. There's different, I mean, we've used probably, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 different platforms that
Yeah.
they all do similar things, but some do it slightly better than others. But now you're able to incorporate, which you couldn't do maybe 5 years ago, your laptop into a managed solution, right?
Right.
And that's a big step. That's a big step to be able to manage your corporate assets, your portable assets under one platform. And I know that we use, for the most part, the Microsoft Intune, which is now Endpoint Manager, is very good at doing that.
I like to
yeah.
think of it on how it really enables the bring your own device policy, because if in the past you have all these machines joining to your domain in the office and things like that, you're able to push policies out, right? But as soon as you roll out MDM to now these laptops, that even desktops can be enrolled into MDM, you have some of that functionality that you just didn't have unless it was a corporate owned device, which that really allows a business to think differently. Since COVID,
Absolutely.
people working from home, what can we start doing to potentially leverage other device types? Some people might want to use a Mac to work, or Mac at work, and the business wasn't buying Macs, as an example. So it would always come up in the marketing department, or one
Yeah.
of the sales execs comes in, I want to use my Mac. Well, we can't join it to the domain. There's a lot of restrictions we can't do. Now, all of a sudden, we have that capability.
And, Brandon, you brought up a really good point about the policy, but let's discuss the conversation that goes on with that, right? So people think, oh, wow, the company's putting something on my personal iPhone. I don't want them spying and seeing what I'm doing on my personal phone. They need to understand that. How would you go about having that conversation with with the end user?
I think it needs to start
Yeah,
as
it's
you're
not
going
us.
through the hiring process, right? Yeah, it's not we definitely can't mandate anything. We need to have a discussion with the key stakeholders, the business owner, decision makers involved with each client. But our clients need to, or you as a business owner need to communicate to your employees. So whether that's part of employee onboarding, paperwork that they're signing, if you expect your employees to access email from their cell phone or different things like that, like you should then have the policy in place so you can say, look, this is what we expect, because I need you to get your emails on the weekend. Maybe, depends on the role, right? Maybe you don't need that, or I need you to work from home, or whatever it is. And if that's the case, then educating them, well, this is what you're going to expect. IT is going to need to do something. And we can also, I mean, what we've done is we made sure that there's kind of a disclaimer so they understand what's actually accessible. Because a lot of times when you enroll in MDM, there's different sets of restrictions, right? And
Right, right.
we try to educate them, like, look, we're not pulling your data. We're checking compliance statistics. We're making sure that the device can now access company resources. And if it falls out of compliance, then yeah, we're gonna block access to company resources, but all your personal stuff is still intact. And it's really just
And
adding security on the personal side too, because we'll require encryption or other things like that that really benefit the person as well.
And it's important for people to realize we're not viewing your personal data. We cannot view your personal data. I think that if you really communicate that, and of course there's a trust issue, because I know a lot of
Yeah.
employees think, well, they're loading something on, they can see everything on my phone. I don't want them to do that. Of course, you don't want them to do that, right? That's a real violation of privacy. But it's important for them to realize that we don't and we can't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that. I mean, and another thing that we tell, and that all the business owners or the decision makers should know, is when we deploy this, it's once it's deployed, we're now protecting, which we've said repeatedly here, is that we're protecting your data. If I get an email from Brandon to my company email on my personal phone, in my Outlook app or native mail app, whatever I'm using, and I want to copy, he just sent me, a script that I need. I want to copy that script and I want to text it to Adam over here. I copy it from that email. I go to paste it into my SMS, my iMessage or whatever, and I paste it. It tells me your organization's data cannot be pasted here. So
Right.
it's securing and protecting your data by default. I mean, obviously there's policies
From like a
around that,
data
but
loss prevention
absolutely
standpoint. Yeah.
exfiltration. You know that's what we're really protecting. So it's no, you're probably more protected than somebody that's in their office kind of haphazardly doing something on
That's
an
right.
unmanaged device.
That's right.
And a lot,
And they,
a lot of that will depend on who configures it, right? Because there's
Mhm.
definitely a lot of restrictions around data loss. But to go back for a second on the personal versus work, what I feel like is really great with any of the MDMs now, usually there's profiles that you can assign depending on if it's a work-owned device or corporate-owned device or a personal-owned device, and what data is accessible based on the device type. So, I mean, we've been doing Microsoft the most lately, and they've got a nice article that I share it with the owner as we're preparing for deployment because it clearly like educates on, hey, what's accessible under this model, what's accessible under this model, and let's formulate some type of messaging to share with the employees so they feel comfortable or confident that like their personal information isn't necessarily being spied on or pulled or stolen or tracking what you're doing or where you're at or anything like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
which it with most MDMs is not even a capability. Like
right.
they think it is
That's
because
right.
of the blanket like access
installation.
statement
Oh
that a
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
them says.
yep.
Yeah, but in most cases it's
It's
just
not.
it's not even something that is available.
That's
Yeah.
right. And that's
One,
that's important. I'm sorry, Brian. Go
no,
ahead.
no, that's fine. I was just gonna say one of the things we do get kickback on is the geolocation, being able to track where the device is, and that again that's a business decision that has nothing to do with us, but it will lets us know how to configure the policies that we create. But you have to think of it this way: if the end user on the personal device says, "I don't want you knowing where I am," then that is disabled. But on the flip side, we've had that deployed like that where a client tells us, no, we don't want to start tracking where people are. That's not what we do. And I said, okay, it's not for that purpose. The,
That's
the,
right.
the business need is if that device is lost or stolen, do you
Yeah.
want us to be able to find out where it is? And they're like, well, yeah. I said, well, then we have to have that on. So, but having it off is not a problem either. So we could do both.
The funny thing is so this is going back, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years. So when Find My iPhone was first kind of released and you had to tie it to an iCloud account, which you still do. But what we would do with a number of customers where we were managing their mobile devices and they had no MDM at the time, we would put everything into like one iCloud account, right? So we
Right.
would be able to track the devices and lock them down if they got stolen. Like, I don't know how many times the device got stolen where we were either able to recover or find the device by having that access. And so, people think that they that they don't want it, but then as soon as that device is lost or stolen, they immediately want help getting the
Yeah.
device, right? And you can't get any of that unless location or things like that are made available. And again, going back to most MDMs, you can't even like pull up a map with iCloud
Right.
and see where the device is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's and we see that and on the personal side, as an end user of this technology, if your device is stolen and it's stolen, rest assured that we can certainly. You have a lot of personal stuff on that device. If you're not using biometrics and you just have a pin on that device, and let's say that they guess it or they know it, we can in seconds, retire that device, wipe it, and have it, sent to factory, and so there's less risk for you because we have that ability.
And what a
Yep.
lot of people don't realize is as soon as you add email to a device, anyways, if you're using like Office 365 Exchange or something else, whether you enroll in MDM or not, we have the ability to wipe your device.
Right,
That's
So,
right. At
um,
least that portion of it. Yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
So that's important. You mentioned BYOD, and that's this has been a great conversation about it. But I've got a client, for example, who has 35 tablets. They're in construction, and they use their tablets on site for VPN to get into their software in their office, right? So we have MDM on there also. So it's not just for the BYOD. I think it's important for people to realize that it's available for you for any of your tablets as well as you move on, and it helps keep your end users from doing things with that tablet that you don't want them to do. We've had situations where, one of my clients' uh, employees who was terminated immediately, was using it for purposes other than intended. We'll put it like that. And
Yeah.
it's a good tool for employees to realize that it's there for a multitude of reasons.
And if you have somebody, honestly, guys, that is a little savvy and they want to, they know that there's no protection in place on the company as far as MDM goes. They want to throw the email on the devices. Yeah, we allow that, and that's a jailbroken device. Someone that's a little savvy and has a jailbroken device, and now there's no control at all. Whereas with an
Right.
MDM, and jailbroken device is just, I think it's just iOS though, isn't it? An iOS
No,
device
with Android as well.
with Android too. That
Yeah.
just basically opens it up to be able to do these things that are
Mhm.
natively blocked by Apple or by Android. And when you jailbreak it, you're open, and mobile device solution will say, you know what, this device is jailbroken. It's not compliant. It'll flag it like that, and you won't be able to access your corporate data.
Yeah, and like on Android, you can prevent it from. There's only a checkbox like to to
Right.
technically jailbreak it on an Android. It's just a checkbox to allow you to install like third-party apps, and it removes that protection. But you can deny that from happening or set it so they can do it, but all of a sudden they lose access to other resources. But what you were saying, Adam, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. We've got a healthcare company. I'm trying to think of how many devices they have now. Somewhere between like 75 and 100. But every
Wow.
time a new device is provisioned, it's provisioned exactly the same because the MDM deploys all of the configuration policies. It adds the Wi-Fi. They don't have VPN on the devices, but as soon as the device is connected, like nobody has to type in the SSID and the passcode. Nobody has to install the application for their EMR. It's automatically deployed. And also we prevent other apps from being installed. So we know, hey, this is being used for work. You can't necessarily go in and just start installing any other, games on the device or whatever else that, we don't feel is work prohibitive.
Yeah.
That's good. That's so I was going to talk about the again, I like to kind of talk on both sides of it. On the employer side, or the business side, if someone leaves or you're terminating somebody, or if they quit and don't give notice, again, we're talking 5 seconds. We can pull that corporate data right off the device, without touching their pictures, their text, anything, nothing personal. It's off the device immediately, and there's your risk for exposure or exfiltration, whatever it is. If there's ill will, it's gone. It's removed. And trying to do that without an MDM solution in place opens up a ton of business challenges and
That's right.
risks. And it's the unknown. Who else has this? And what so that side of it is important too.
So it's important, number one, but what about provisioning? Like, I feel like a lot of people feel like it's very difficult to manage and deploy. I mean, what's been your guys' experience? And I'll share, what we do now for deployment and a couple things that Apple now has baked in, which are pretty cool. But like, do you guys feel it's difficult to provision or onboard machines onto an MDM nowadays?
So I think it depends on the software, but like anything else, first of all, you do it enough times, you learn it well enough, and it becomes easy.
Well, then it
However,
changes after that.
yeah, it does. It changes. Exactly right. Yep. There's the upgrade. Okay, where are we? But there are certain applications. I don't want to name any out, but there are certain that are more complex than others for sure, right? So it depends on what you're doing. Right now, we are focusing on the Microsoft solution. Because we want to learn it. We feel it's gonna be here forever. It's gonna mutate just like anything else that Microsoft does that mutates. So we're pushing that. We're moving away from some of the others, which I don't want to name because they are a little bit more complex, or because their changes have not kept
I don't
up.
think it hurts to mention. So at least people are aware
Yeah.
of what some of the MDMs are out there. I'm
Well,
assuming you're thinking Mass 360 because I know that
we're
that's a beast and difficult,
we
more
are
difficult
moving
than
from
some
Mass
others to.
360, and we're moving away. Our clients sometimes buy into the Verizon MDM.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, and that's a bit of
Well,
an issue too.
just to bring that up for a second. So I think Verizon uses Mass 360 on the back end. To be
It could
honest with
be.
you.
So that or
Yeah.
Mobile Iron, I think it may be one of those. Yeah.
Okay. But what's something cool about what they do for corporate, and I was going to bring this up for Apple and other devices, but so if you get it through Verizon, as you buy a new device, it's already enrolled, which is pretty cool. Like you turn it on, there's nothing you need to do. So Apple has that capability. They call it Apple Business Manager, where
Mhm.
you tie it into an MDM, and every time you source and buy a new product, it's already MDM enrolled immediately out of the box, which is cool. I don't know about
And I think that's
how it
free
works.
too, right?
It's free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's free. You just have to sign up and there's a whole
Mhm.
process to go through to get it working. But I mean, it's great because then as you're adding to your fleet, it's just there's again, it's like a zero touch deployment. You turn it on, you get it on the internet and it enrolls, installs your software, adds user accounts, whatever you've got set up in the MDM. But you can also do this for Windows computers as well. So you work with your distributor, whether it's Lenovo, Dell, or anything else like that, and I don't remember what it's called, but
Is
like
it autopilot or
Autopilot.
no? Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of Autopilot, but I believe some of the other MDMs can do this as well. But as soon as you get the device, it's enrolled and it installs all your software, installs Office, adds your user accounts, joins it to Azure, syncs your folders and everything like that. And it just makes things so much easier for initial deployment too, right? From you getting the machine to actually getting it provisioned into a user's hands.
Well, we were cloning and ghosting years ago. That was the process, and then
Yeah.
changing the SSID and all this other stuff that the hoops that we had to go through, which
Yeah.
had nothing to do with compliance, right? That was just to get everything on there. So that landscape has changed from our perspective, from a deployment perspective. It's a lot easier than it was years ago. You're still going to have your one-offs that maybe you have to do something or add something to a device afterwards, but for the
Yeah.
most part, it's pretty automated and it's pretty slick.
Yeah, we've pretty much stopped all imaging because how easy MDM can now run
Yeah.
deployments.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, and it is, and it saves time and it makes everything the same, right? So it's so in most ways, I want to be careful how I say this for security reasons, right? In most ways, it's great that you have a complete standardized system. The downside of that is, of course, it's the old school thinking of don't become a man of habit, right? So if somebody ever learns your stack or your configuration, it's easier for them to hack it, of course. But that's such a downside. That's such a small percentage of what happens. That the upside is so much better with MDM and having that completely available to us, right? And save time and help the end user.
Well, it
Great.
ensures all the devices are up to date too, right? On the latest
That's right.
iOS, latest software, and if you're not, it's marked non-compliant, and you could put it on the onus back on the end user that listen, you have to update your device if you want to get
Mhm.
email or
Mhm.
corporate
That's right.
corporate data. So
That's right.
And at least you've got visibility at that point.
you
Right.
do.
And
You do.
from a manual standpoint, just because we didn't mention it for people to kind of be aware, so there is the automated methods, which I would always recommend wherever possible. But you get this BYOD device or random device that for some reason didn't auto enroll. I mean, it's as simple as at least with Microsoft, you download an app, you log in with your Office 365 credentials, and your device enrolls itself. I
Yeah.
mean, it's 5
Yeah.
minutes, if that. With Mass, you click a link, it installs it and enrolls the device. Mass, I feel like, makes it easy to enroll. It's all the back end work
It's the
with
back end
Mass
work. Right.
360 that's
Right.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
right.
It
a
is.
nightmare.
Yeah. It is.
But they make it very easy, is my point nowadays. Like, there's not a whole bunch of hoops you need to jump through and 20 apps you need to install. Usually it's like one click or one app, log in, you're enrolled. And then if your company policy is, hey, we're going to automatically deploy Outlook and I don't know, Office and a couple other apps,
It may take
then
some time.
like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that may take some time, but otherwise it's pretty much 5 minutes or less, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't take time.
What
That's
what about what about cost? I mean, um, I, it's free with business premium nowadays. Like people don't
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
think about or realize that.
why even worry about costs when you can buy business premium and have free, at least for now, right? We don't know what
Yeah,
Microsoft's going to do in the future, but at
Yeah,
least
I
for
mean, you
now.
used to pay $15-20 in a mobile device years
Right.
ago just to have the solution in place.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
all of our clients, for the most part, are on that business premium platform, and so you're getting your Office software, you're getting all this content, but on top of it, you're also getting your your mobile device management included in that bundle, and we do sell like that. We charge the MSRP, Microsoft pricing. There's obviously configuration and support from us, but it's free, so you can't beat free.
That's right. Not when it works.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Brian. What do you think are the downsides to mobile device management?
Downside, I mean, as for the employer or for the end user?
On the whole.
You know what? I don't know that I know of any downsides, to be honest with you. I really
That's
don't.
a good point. I mean, I don't think
we have enough. I have it on every device I own. I can't think of one, and I'm grateful. You know what? And what I mentioned before, I am guilty of. I may have a photo I want to share with somebody, and I can't take that photo unless I allow it and put it into my Teams. If I see Adam in our conference today, I took a couple of screenshots. If I want to send that in Teams to my staff, I can't. So there's but that's on me. I can
you could make a rule to be able to do that, right?
You can.
Certainly.
So
yeah.
But downside, other than maybe things that you can't do that are for protection purposes only. That's it. There's no. I don't know, Brandon. You have any downsides?
The only downside I can think of is if you don't have a subscription that has it, like there's a fee or price change, or if you wanted to use another product. You mentioned Mobile Iron, Mass 360. There's a ton out there, right? AirWatch, you're gonna have to pay money for those, so there's a financial burden initially, or some cost in setup. But after that, I mean, I can't think of anything. There's no speed issues. There's no slowing down of the device for enrolling anymore.
We did a pivot for a client that was on Mass and used the Mass app. And then when we transitioned to Intune and Point Manager, they loved the fact that they could just use the native mail app. They didn't have to go into something else. So if anything, there's only benefits from it that we see.
I agree. I think that we can't really find too many downsides at all, and the upsides are it's just a piece of technology that it's been great.
Listen, there used to be Blackberries, right? Everyone had a Blackberry.
That's
right. Blackberry was your email,
and it had its own security, MDM, right? If you had a BlackBerry Enterprise server, it was handling.
That's right.
That.
Yes, yeah. Or that was a pair.
Yep.
I'm so glad those times are gone.
I liked that way.
I still have a server up and running, Adam.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes.
They still sell it. I mean,
they do.
I didn't even know that.
Yep.
Didn't even know that. Wow.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Adam, we have to get downstairs.
Yes, we do.
Or upstairs? Downstairs.
Downstairs.
Brandon, you're missed by many. Everyone's asking where you are.
Have an old fashioned for me.
There you go.
There we go.
I might do that.
All right.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Have a good night.
See you guys. Thanks.